You know, it's like my father used to say, never go on a date with a loaded gun. Still don't know what that means. He also said, you know what's better than 3 non-running cars? 4. It's 5 a.m. Got a full tank of fuel, full cup of Starbucks, and an empty trailer, and a fat stack of cash. I'm about to make a really bad decision, but it's probably one of the best decisions I've ever made in my automotive life. It's time to buy a new car. Somebody tell me why I am literally 2 minutes away from buying a 3rd gen Camaro and North by Project Pat comes on and plays Kenny Dangler. Get out of my head, buddy. All right, guys, we are here at a shop. I'm not even gonna show you what we bought yet because I'm way over the top. I'm gonna leave you hanging just a little bit. Look, but spin around real fast. So you can see, obviously this is not a shop that you usually see on this channel because most of the stuff we do is drag racing. And we deal with a bunch of people like, you know, the guys that really don't know how to spell their own last name. But Mr. Rick Brunetti here definitely knows how to spell his last name. And also, he's got like some concert level. So this is what caught my eye when we walked in the shop, is this insane speaker setup. So I don't know if audio is gonna translate, but we're gonna get a demonstration real quick. Say hi, Rick.
Hi, how you guys doing?
As time goes by, it seems to me you could have been a better friend to me. Suck my foot.
So there you go. This is my new 3rd gen Camaro. I told a few of you guys I was buying a mullet mobile and I got one, and I'm purchasing it from Mr. Rick Brunetti here. And obviously you're no stranger to going faster on corners. You got a few crazy, I mean, outside of this, but a couple cars here as well. C4, big vet guy I see. But this is his C5. As you can see, it is not standard width. That is set up to just absolutely destroy corners. And it looks like it does a very good job. Rick, how long have you been road racing?
About 10 years.
10 years? A lot of people might.
I just made all that for that car.
It looks very carpentry though.
They are. It's 3/4 inch birch.
But is that common in the road racing community?
Common, yeah.
So a lot of guys, coming from the drag community, everything about what we do is all lightweight, carbon fiber, this, that, you know, like the least amount of drag, least amount of weight. But over here,
$100 splitter versus a $3,500 splitter.
exactly.
And they're consumable anyway. They
Yes.
more to your
Yes.
racing.
When you know you're going to tear something up, this is what just makes sense. But
That's all ducted out the top too, if you could see the sheet metal of it.
yeah, I was just gonna point that out. Like, this isn't just about downforce right here. This is also about moving the air to where it needs to be, not so much just creating downforce, but obviously you need to cool the car. So this goes into the front, ducted out here, out of the top, executed on his own cars. And he has applied that knowledge over here to this thing. This is a 1990 GT1, which would basically translate to, like, what would be the most common? I think we started like
GT1 is still a class. It's a road race class. The professional ranks, it will be Trans Am TA1 or IMSA GTO back in the 80s and 90s.
So if you're unfamiliar with the IMSA categories back in the 90s, like, I mean, for me, as a kid that grew up in the 90s, I was very influential in those years. That was like the pinnacle. Like, the cars looked the craziest.
Beautiful cars.
They were insanely wide. How much wider is it? It's 79 inches, correct? Oh, really? I didn't think they were that wide.
Yeah.
Because I was measuring.
Wider than that, but it's flared all the way around, so.
I was measuring a little bit to try to get the track width, compare it to what a square body Chevy is. I think a square body Chevy is around like 80 or so. I know it's 83 inches between the fenders and my trailer because I wanted to make sure I measured before we came up here. But obviously this thing is insanely wide, insanely low. Like, if you can put it into perspective, what you see for the cage right here, that's about where the factory A pillars would be on a 3rd gen Camaro.
And it's up in the air still on that lift. It'll drop down about 3 more.
Yeah, the tires are going to come out a little bit more, and then everything past this mark right here is just, well, that's just auxiliary. So we have the mounts on the car basically, and you said there is, and I'm quoting you because this is what you told me on the phone, was there's not a drop of paint on this chassis.
Correct, it's all powder coat, everything.
Everything here is powder. And then I love this, and I had concerns about this, but instead of having pop rivets, everything has a button head screw on it. So everything is serviceable. And as a guy who worked in aviation in the sheet metal industry for 20 years, I truly appreciate that. This thing is crazy. There's a million questions I have, and I'll turn the camera back on. But right now, I'm gonna soak this in because this is my moment. So y'all can wait. So what we were talking about off camera here is the length of the lower control arms. And I'm kind of excited to get this thing back home and plot out the instant center. Go back and watch the instant center video and you'll see why I'm excited, because the length of that trailing arm means very little change in the instant center while it is dynamic moving down the track, but it also means that we might be able to get a little bit more travel out of the back. And if you're digging what I'm shoveling, that means a whole lot of fun in the dirt. Oh, there's legitimately almost nothing under here to hit.
They made them as smooth as possible.
Yeah, I can't see how this would ever get stuck. So this is a quick change rear end. If you guys don't know what a quick change rear end is, this is obviously, you're normally used to seeing an 8.8 or a 9-inch on this channel because all we do is drag race. Now we're doing a little bit of something different. So there's a few companies. Winters, I think, is the most popular for a quick change rear end. This is a Frank Land, not Frank Lynn. But basically this is, I believe, the research that I've done is that this is an aluminum center section, and then you can basically pick the tubes, and then it has a basically standard ring and pinion, but the pinion gear doesn't drive the ring gear directly. It actually goes through, drives a set of gears back here. And this is what the quick change part is. There's two gears in here. There's a big one and a small one. So if you want to accelerate really fast with shitty top end, well, then you put it the acceleration way. And then if you need to, hey, I need more top end, or I want to make a gear change, whatever it is for the situation, to pop this cover off, and within 2-3 minutes, you just basically flip the gears. So there's no resetting your backlash and blah, blah, blah. All the stuff that you normally have to deal with, or if you have a Ford 9-inch, you got to drain all your fluid out, unbolt the center section, and it's a huge, heavy pumpkin that you got to put back in. You're pulling axles. For this, literally flip 2 gears. And then, speaking of axles, another crazy departure. You may have noticed the bolt pattern. That's not anything that you're, unless you have like a Volkswagen and drive it on the street, or a Porsche, or a vintage Ford, that is a wide 5 pattern. And then this right here indicates this is a full floater, which means the axle shaft actually does not support any of the weight of the vehicle. Its only job is to turn the tire. The tire, the wheel, the hub, and everything ride on their own bearing. So the bearings support the weight of the vehicle, and the axle drives the vehicle. There is no like back and forth. So like, 1, it's stronger, and then 2, it can also be made lighter weight. So initially it was put in for strength, and then they kind of held on to this all the way up until, I mean, they're still using these things today. Even drift cars, Formula Drift, and this is a road race guy here, you see them all the time, I'd assume, at the track.
Absolutely. Because
they're lightweight and they're pretty strong. So this is do you know how to say that? Is it Sains?
Sains, I believe.
Sains, made out of Argentina. S-A-E-N-Z. So it says Sains 910 or S910 5-speed. I'm using air quotes here because it's actually second, third, fourth, fifth, and then first gear and reverse are way over here to the right, and they are, quote, pit-only gears. So that's just to get the car rolling. So you can't put any significant amount of load on it. And the reason this thing's kind of unique, you can see you got a quartermaster bell housing on here, and this is kind of like some circle track and road race stuff. It has a reverse style starter. So normally your starter would mount on a small block Chevy up here, and you would have a much larger bell housing than this. This is substantially smaller because this uses a, I think it's 100 something, like literally like 107 flywheel or flex plate and a 7.5-inch diameter quartermaster clutch. It does have a 26 spline input shaft, so that is nice to see because that is an upgrade from the 10 spline, but this is a dog cut, dog ring, whatever you want to call it. So that means clutchless upshifts and a whole bunch of really cool noises. A little bit of a unique piece. I tried to do some research on it before I came up here, and there's not a whole bunch of information out there on them. So not sure if I want to put this thing in the car and then end up breaking it, and then I have something that's really weird and also broken, or if I want to put like maybe a T56 in it and then sell the weird part before it gets broken. So we'll see. I really want to hear what this thing sounds like. I just want that ping when you drop it into gear. Bonus content. Rick is inside looking for the rest of the exhaust. So he has actually parted out this car. He sold the motor, sold the body, which is what you see right here. IMSA regulation said you had to have so much of the steel roof and quarters. Well, if you're wondering, this is how much of it is actually a real third gen Camaro. When we rebody it, it's gonna have a little bit more because there's this like number, alphanumerical like code that needs to be placed right around here in order for me to be able to license and insure this thing. But this is a full wide body IMSA, not body kit. This is a legit body. So here's your rear quarters, and you can see, you know, third gen Camaro, usually these are real sharp lines. This is all, you know, smooth over Zeus fasteners. Like, oh, this is so crazy. This is so cool. Dude. Oh my God. What am I doing? What are we doing here? This is insane. This is a lot of car. So here you go. You got a 340 tire on the back. And then, just so everybody knows, this is legitimately the widest tire I've ever owned on anything that I've ever owned, other than a diesel truck. And it's on the front. So does this mean I'm a big tire racer now? I've been talking a lot of shit on the big tire guys for quite a few years, so. Shoo! Tight squeeze. Dude, what is going on? That noise is the cicada bugs, and I'm not a stranger to cicadas, but they're not doing this like this at my house. Oh my God, everything is falling on the floor. I'm just kidding, we put it all there. We're just gonna go and check and make sure that our precious cargo is okay. Oh, that's a little loose. All right, for me, dude, this is like Christmas Day. I'm 9 years old, and my parents just bought me a Super Nintendo. This is my Super Nintendo. Like, this thing is so sick. This is the first time, well, I've been out here staring at this thing for a couple hours now, but this is the first time I've actually got to look at it without looking at it through a phone or looking at it with a pillar in the way or, you know, trailer walls blocking it. I'm sure my neighbors are real thrilled because they are having an open house down the street. And so yeah, there's a bunch of potential new neighbors that are pulling up to look at a house. And this is the first thing they're greeted with. Hope you like sick cars, because we got some. Holy crap, that's a Howe radiator. So a lot of things are standing out to me here. First of all, shout out to Rick who had the car. Attention to detail is through the roof on this thing. Obviously, the powder coating everywhere is completely fresh. Like, this is not paint, guys. That is all powder coat. Ignore these welds. Like, this is just, believe it or not, this is how cars were built in the 80s and 90s. This is what fabrication looked like on a professional level. Go to the NASCAR museum, and when you look through like championship winning cars that are all over that museum in Mooresville, Charlotte area, they all have welds that look like this. Today, it doesn't really look like that. Ideally, if this thing was painted or raw steel, I would probably grind this out and go back over stuff. But for what we're gonna do, this is fine. This is actually way too nice of a car, because I am going to mercilessly beat this thing within inches of its life. Well, within inches of my maximum amount of capability. I don't have enough talent to fully get use out of this car, but you don't need a lot of talent to have a lot of fun. And that's the whole point. So people have been saying, is this a circle track car? No, this is a road race car. This is a 1990 IMSA SCCA based, basically Trans Am car. GT1, GTO, I think were some of the various categories. In its heyday, configuration for racing an IMSA Trans Am series, this car would have weighed 2,600 pounds and made 800 horsepower. And it would have been completely adorned with third generation Camaro bodywork. We are gonna put this on the street. We're gonna street drive this car. I don't know when, but I have every intention of driving this. This is a street car. I'm going to, y'all thought I didn't have a street car before. Oh boy, here we go. So yes, it's gonna get tagged, insured, headlights, everything that it needs to be road legal. Now the body thing does provide some complications because, as you can see, this thing is substantially wider than any third generation Camaro that ever rolled off the showroom floor. When it comes for the body, I don't look at this thing as just a third gen Camaro though, because I'm gonna pull a tape measure and get some measurements off of the whole car and start looking at it. So we got a 102-inch wheelbase, which is kind of short. All of these pieces here that stick out, these are just for mounting the bodywork. So we can chop these off and reconfigure them any way that we need to. The ones up here on the front, Rick actually made this. So these bolt on and off, which is super slick. I like that a lot. So I may convert these to have them so they too can bolt on and off. We're gonna make this thing kind of a Swiss Army knife. It doesn't have to just be a Camaro. It could be a Camaro, it could be a go-kart, it could be whatever body we want to slide over it. So one of the looks that I do absolutely love with old school race cars, or I mean, not even old school, any race car, is the asphalt modified look. I'll insert a picture of one here. So these things look wild. They basically have a body from the firewall back, radius cut fenders, and then like, I call them tree kickers. If you've ever ridden a four-wheeler, that's what you would call them. So it's a bar that comes out, so it's open wheel, meaning there's not a body covering up the wheels. So like if you make contact with the car, tires touch tires and the cars are flipping over. It's super action-packed and wild. But the look of those cars is the stance, the rake, the width. It's very menacing looking. And I think that would be kind of a cool look to recreate on this. And then that would alleviate us having to find, you know, crazy fenders to cover up the front tires. We can make this thing look just very intimidating. I think that might be the easiest one to pull off. So that might be the first look that we go for. I promise you though, it's not gonna be the last one. I love the way truck bodies look on these, but one of these things, if you look at this, look at the center line of the rear axle. I mean, the front tire is basically in line with the back of the front seat. And when you look at a pickup truck, you know, square body Chevy, there's a substantial difference between the center line of the axle and the back seat. And I mean, how many non-running square body Chevys do I really need? So I love the OBS look, like 454 SS, Chevy Pace truck. That was around the era when Craftsman Truck Series came about. But there's all kinds of stuff that we could do with this. Again, I'm not looking at this as just a Camaro. This is, I want to do all kinds of things. Let me know. What do you guys think? What would be a cool body? Remember, 102-inch wheelbase. We can move stuff around, obviously. I'm not afraid to do some sheet metal. And I'm not going to paint it and make it look nice. I'm going to keep this thing kind of down, dirty, and gangster looking. Really nice underneath. But on the outside, I want it to be raw. This is something that the end goal here is fun. I'm not trying to win races. I'm not trying to go heads up race anybody in any category. So don't tell me to bring it and run this class at this track and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go out and just have fun for me with my friends. Look at this. Rick on this fender put this plastic liner. So when tires get hot and sticky and rocks get thrown up, you're not going to put a dent on the outside of your nice new fenders. Suspension wise in the back, it's a 4-link with a Watts link. And then you guys like tech videos, so we can go through, that's a good one, types of axle locating devices, because I got 3 of them here. We got Panhard bar, Watts link, and I got a wishbone on the Mustang. That'll be a cool one. We'll go through that. One thing I was surprised about, look at the length of the trailing arm. Well, I got the gears turning. I'm like, well, you know, maybe we can increase the amount of travel. What can we do on the front to do long travel? You guys see where I'm going with this, right? We get rid of that, lengthen the wheelbase a little bit, make that lower one more of a trailing arm, put some longer shocks on the back, and maybe a little bit more of an aggressive tire with like some scoops in it, and then put some skinny tires up front, not tractor tires or drag tires, but something kind of balloony with like some ribs. And then, you know, maybe just throw an acrylic windshield in here with no body on it whatsoever. And ladies and gentlemen, what do we got? Well, you got a front engine, H-pattern, stick shifted V8 dune buggy. The possibilities are endless with this thing. We need body of some sort. So that's one of the things I'm shopping for. And then obviously we need something to push this thing down the road. And that is where we're on the fence. Okay, so back in the 90s when this car peaked, 2,600 pounds, naturally aspirated, small block Chevrolet with a carburetor making out about 800 horsepower. Very similar to what you would have found in NASCAR. And then behind it was this lightweight transmission. And first gear and reverse are only to be used on flat ground to kind of move the car just a little bit. If I tried to, even pull this thing up the ramp in the trailer to bring it in here under power using the car and the motor and the clutch and everything, it'll either fry the clutch, because the clutch, I'll show you in a second, is not designed to do anything other than grab. And then the first gear is called the pit gear. It's just for rolling the car around on flat, level ground. It's not very robust. But 2, 3, 4, and 5, well, these cars never did standing starts. So they always did rolling starts. So they roll by and they drop the green flag. So they're already in gear. There's no riding the clutch to get the car to launch. You don't launch the car. It's a rolling start. So you start in second gear, and then it's just clutchless up and down shift. The clutch in this car is literally only used just to get it going. Obviously, you can't street drive with that. I don't know. I want to be able to kick the clutch and slide the ass end of the car out when I want to do some donuts or something like that. So I don't think this is going to work out for us. I can't find any information on it. I don't even know if I'd be able to find parts if I did break it. I want to know what you guys want to see. So, small block Chevy, cool transmission, roll the dice a little bit, or option B. All right, so option B, what's it gonna be? That's not no pun intended, that was awkward. I'm not redoing it though. So option B is, well, that is not an LS. That is not an LS. I've been getting overly familiar with Gen 5 LT stuff here recently, and I also have access to a Gen 5 LT motor that came out of a 2017 truck for relatively cheap, and I have already locked in a deal to purchase it. The downside with using the LT motor, I can't run the direct injection on it because I don't have a controller. I have a controller, an ECU system that will run the port injection, meaning like I'll trick it into thinking it's a traditional LS, and Bob's your uncle, we have engine management, fuel injection, all the things that we know and love, plus digital gauges, et cetera, et cetera. And we have a motor that is up to modern standards, and it'll probably be much more docile and easier to drive on the street. Easier to probably, at least for me, to source parts for. I don't know small block Chevy, traditional small block Chevy very well. I also don't know LT stuff very well. So I'm kind of torn. Do we source a small block Chevy and run with what we got? Or do we sell what we got while it still holds some value, the stock is still up, and then put a little bit of money into one of these guys? That's where we're at. Do I want to goof around and play with some new modern LT stuff? Do we go old school, small block Chevy? Or do we get an LS? I don't know. We're going to put something cool in there. It's going to have 3 pedals, and it's going to be fun. Let me know what you guys think we should do with this thing. I need to know what kind of body to put on it. I need to know a name for it. I need to know what kind of motor you want to put in it. So things, what do you want me to see me do with this thing? It's going to get drifted. It's going to get road course. It's going to get autocrossed. It's going to get, it might get jumped. It's going to get driven on the street. It's going to get drag raced. What if we did Sick Week with this thing? The possibilities are absolutely endless. This is a fresh canvas, and I could not be more excited to try something completely different. I'm putting the fun back into my racing. It wasn't very fun there for a little bit, but this is a game changer. And thank you to all of you. Like, this is possible through you guys. This is the motivation. I literally bought this to make cool shit for you guys to watch. So please watch it. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Let me know. I can't wait. I can't wait to show you. This is going to be fun.